is the North End. This is the North End.
What's going on, fantasy football fans? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football here at the North End podcast with me, Luke the Duke, as called by Paul, so thanks Paul. And a big shout out to Paul, the Guru Forest, for helping me get this new format and also do all these beautiful visuals, so well done Paul. Okay guys, so going forward we're going to change how we look at fantasy football options each week. I was doing the 5, realised with Paul that you can't put that many in. You only have that one fantasy, maybe 2 changes per week if you've banked one. So we're going to mix it up. We're going to do a keep, a buy and a sell. So actually I'm going to flip that around and do the buy first. So we're going to go straight into it. 2 buys that I think you need to be looking at from this week, and obviously with this week in mind. Number 1, Ivan Toney over at Brentford. He's 7.1 million rated and he has gone off to a flying start. 1 goal, 2 assists, and get this for a fixture list: Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, Leeds and Southampton. He looks good, he's very much a part of that team and he's playing a lot. And that's the thing, Brentford right now, they're a bit of a moving piece. There's been a number of their midfield that have played it a lot, a number of the defence. Ben Mee's coming in, looks like a good option at the back. But Ivan Toney with that fixture list looks like a good prospect. I've said this before and been burnt, but at 7.1, I think he's a real value add. Now, flipping back to our defensive options, I'm going to go Cancelo. He's one of the most expensive players, I think, if not the most second most expensive defender, I think, after Trent Arnold. And he is 7.1 million. Now, the reason I'm suggesting it is that there are other players around that kind of 7 million. I'm thinking of a Robertson, who maybe aren't returning, and Cancelo looks to be continuing the same way he played last season. So, again, fixtures: Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Villa, Tottenham, Wolves, United, Southampton. There's a lot of clean sheet options there for Man City, and there's also a lot of potential assists and goals for a like of Cancelo. More importantly, you're going to get a player that's playing week in, week out. And Chelsea right now, Nathan Ake looks like a good option, but is he going to get dropped as soon as obviously injuries recover and there's a more selection option? Cancelo, I think, is keeping that place, so a great option. And I would be looking to change one of your more expensive defenders or trying to get money in to keep him, because he's going to return. From there, you've got our keep options. So a bit of a difficult one for a couple of these, but I'm going to go 2, and they're both going to be from Tottenham options. So I'm going to go number 1. I'm going to go Perisic. He's 5.4 million. His fixtures: Wolves, Nottingham Forest, West Ham United and Fulham. Hasn't played a whole lot, but we know the quality and the ability that Perisic brings to the table. So I think for 5.4, yes, he's kind of one of that middle of the road defenders, but I think he could return a lot of fantasy points, and he's a good differential. And so that's what you're needing to really stand out and to really get the points, because a lot of your friends are going to have Salah, they're going to have the likes of a Kane, a Haaland, a Jesus, stuff like that, but he could be the player that other people don't have. And with that fixture list run, I think he's going to get a lot more opportunity going forward as well. The other Tottenham option is our boy Son. He is a lot of money. He's 12 million, and I understand why a lot of people are transferring him out, because they're saying there's better options. Maybe Diaz over at Liverpool. You know, a lot of the super cheap options that we'll talk about that I'll mention in a minute as well. But Sonny has done great fantasy numbers week in, week out, year upon year. I think if you can stick with him, it's a risk. But again, listen to that fixture list that we just mentioned. You know he is always a dangerous player to have. And more importantly, he's the 3rd highest rated on the threat ratio that the Fantasy Premier League puts out. So out of 256 players in the midfield on the fantasy option, he's the 3rd highest rated player. I think that's a reason to keep him in. I can understand why you wouldn't, but stick with him. I personally haven't got him because I couldn't afford him in my team, but I haven't got a Tottenham player, so that might hurt me in weeks to come. I think definitely Son is definitely worth keeping for now. To sell, there's a lot of players that could have made this list, but for me it's a clear favourite too. Number 1, Rashford. I brought him in, he had a great pre-season. You know, I didn't have a bad pre-season also, and look where that's got them. They're in a heck of a mess. Apparently coming out suggesting that Casemiro is being pursued for 60 million, 30 years of age. Is a lot of money in a deal with an add-on, but if he comes in, that's even less option for Rashford. He has returned very little points since coming in, 3 points in 180 minutes. He's played all 90 minutes in both games. And it's just a bit of a mess. And the biggest issue for me with Rashford is he doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like a player that has that confidence. He had a couple of shots that a couple of years ago he would have buried, and he would have been keen to take a player on. He looks a little unsure of himself, so I'd say get rid. And I hate to say it because I really like the lad, but the truth is there. And the other, it's a Villa player. It is Leon Bailey. He's a Jamaican legend. He's out there rapping on some other things I've been seeing recently, but he's just not doing it. 4.9 million. He's already fallen a little bit, and he had a great pre-season. Returned nothing in that first 90 minutes, and then Gerrard made a whole formation change against Bournemouth against Everton, and that doesn't give option to feature Bailey. Is he going to play? Yeah, I think he'll play in a rotation, but I don't think he's gonna start, and I think you need him to start if you're going to have him as a good potential option. Now, if you are looking to maybe go for someone else in around that price bucket, you haven't got a whole lot of money because he's so cheap, you could look at Gordon, 5.5 million over at Everton. He's played both games for Everton in kind of an attacking three. There are rumours they're bringing out a new centre-forward because they need one. They've just signed another great creative player. So I think Everton, and have a good run of fixtures, I think he could be a good option to fill. There's also one or two others that you can look that are performing well and are fairly cheap. Maybe look at the Brentford lot. There's two potential players there. But again, we're talking about outs. I think he's out. I just don't think he's returning right now. As for the captain, always important. You need to set yourself up for success. There's two options really. Salah is obviously an option, but I'm going to go with Gabriel Jesus. He has got a very, very likeable game this week. My screen's gone dead over here, so I'm going to refresh that so I don't look like it. No, you know what? It's all good. I know who he is. They have Bournemouth, and I think Bournemouth looked like a bit of a mess. Yes, they beat Villa somehow in the first week. They got trounced by City, not to be, unexpected, but it could have been 7-8-0. I don't think Bournemouth have a huge amount. I think they're going to be a relegation favourite. And Jesus was involved with literally everything last week. 4 goals, he scored 2 and assisted 2. He's playing all 90 minutes. The team is playing absolutely around that central focus point of Jesus. I think he's a captain option, maybe even a triple captain option if you're feeling really brave. You got to use it eventually, so why not now? But Gabriel Jesus is my other. So, once again, to recap, buy Ivan Toney 7.1, Cancelo 7.1 as well. Keep, you've got Perisic and you've got Son. And then you're selling Rashford and Bailey because they're just not performing. Other than that, let us know if you need any advice going forward. If you'd like me to change this up, if I can do more to help you out over the weeks, we're going to try and get this out earlier, maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday release to give you more time and get the message out. But other than that, best of luck. Not too much luck because I don't want you beating me. But remember, those differentials, that's the key to standing out in your fantasy league. So best of luck and we'll see you next week.